Check it, but don't wreck it. We are worldwide. This is like the coldest. Oh no. Make sure stuff's working. You have the crash symbol. Close enough. All right, what are we gonna talk about? And we're live. All right, dudes. So this is the 80/20 Drummer. My name is Nate. This is a channel where every week, give or take, I break down the most interesting things in drumming for me. Kind of the DNA of this channel is the idea that you can spend the same amount of time practicing the drums, but if you choose the smart things to practice, you can get better faster. Right. And if you'd like to know more about that, subscribe link. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Today I'm doing a yes and. Nate is mindfully adjusting the hi-hat. I'm doing it, but I'm realizing I'm doing it. I'm doing a yes and to some of the lessons I've seen from some of my YouTube brethren, some of my YouTube friends in the last couple weeks. And I think it's about time to revisit the concept of rudiments. So working title for this episode is Practicing Rudiments Still Important in 2018? And this will be dated in a hurry. So I'll have to make another one next year. So I want to give you what you clicked on the video for if you're a drive-by watcher. I don't want to make this clickbaity at all. So are rudiments still important in 2018? Yes, but to a far more limited degree than you might think. So let's think about how we're going to do the structure of this lesson. First, I want to talk a little bit about what rudiments are, what their role is, why they might be overemphasized, and then I want to pick up on a challenge that some of my colleagues issued and gave their own answers to, which is if you're not practicing rudiments, if you're not practicing the 26 essential, or you're not practicing stick control, what should you be doing instead? And that's going to be the bulk of the lesson. So, and teaser, it's been my view for a long time that there are 3 to 4 things that most drummers don't focus on that are going to get you better, faster than focusing exclusively on rudiments. Okay, so are rudiments important? Yes, for a couple of reasons. So let's first of all talk about what we mean when we say a rudiment. We're talking about the 26 essential rudiments, things like single stroke, double stroke, paradiddle, flams. Let's do like a flam accent. So, there are a few things to think about when practicing rudiments. There are tons and tons of videos on how to do them. I'm going to give you a couple of things maybe other folks haven't touched on when they've spoken about rudiments. So number one, I've got a video about really specifically about hand mechanics where we talk about where do you grip the stick, the bounce, all of this other stuff. And I will link to that below this video. You can definitely check that out. But one of the things I speak about in that video is that I think the concept of rebound is overrated. And let me tell you what I think, or let me tell you why I think that. I think the key to playing a rudiment smoothly from slow to fast to slow, which those of us who are doing drum lessons or in high school or college music programs. That's sort of the criterion that you rate the rudiments on. Can you play them smoothly, slow to fast to slow? I think the key to that is being able to articulate the rudiment faster than the slowest speed at which you can bounce it smoothly. So double strokes, for instance, let's say you're articulating double strokes as you're playing them slowly. So what's the fastest speed you can articulate your doubles and have them be smooth? So maybe something like that could probably get it a little bit faster, but that's plenty fast so that it's faster than the slowest speed at which you can bounce. And the reason why is that you want those to overlap so that you've got a comfortable zone in between where you can transition. Because the thing that happens a lot when novices practice rudiments is they'll be articulating, and then there'll be this uncomfortable zone where they start bouncing, but it's too slow to really play it precisely. So you get that looseness, you get that sort of airplane landing without flaps type of feeling. So you can solve that all if your fastest articulation speed is faster than your slowest bounce speed. Okay, so now let's talk about, in my opinion, the primary reason why rudiments are important. And that reason might not be what you expect. It's, in my opinion, because so much of the traditional drum vocabulary is based on them. So, for instance, if you're playing any jazz, etc., that sort of Philly Joe, Jimmy Cobb, Max Roach vocabulary, that's all based out of the rudimental tradition. So, drags or roughs, double paradiddles, that's a Philly Joe variation on the paradiddle diddle. Six-stroke rolls. Okay, so that's reason one. And, you know, a lot of the current drum vocabulary at least has a foundation in that stuff. You can check out my Nishit lesson if you want to go really deep on some counterintuitive ways to apply that to current playing. So reason number two why practicing rudiments is important is simply because it's fun. So I think an underrated thing about practicing rudiments is if you just open up, say, the Wilcoxon Rudimental Solo book, you will learn phrasing from that, and you'll just move your hands in ways that are fun and which twist your ear and etc. I'm not sure if that's actually something Wilcoxon-y. So there's one Wilcoxon book which is straight solos and another one which is swung. The swung Wilcoxon Rudimental Solos is a cult classic amongst jazz players. So reason number three why rudiments are cool is because you can take them and do cool things with them. So Alan Dawson pioneered the Rudimental Ritual, which Alan Dawson, Tony Williams teacher, and the Rudimental Ritual is kind of another yardstick that drummers measure themselves against. But it's basically a way to play all the rudiments back to back ambidextrously. So he's through composed ways to start on one side and then end up on the other side. And he's got you doing the sort of bossa nova bass drum beat. And I think the first exercise is roughs, and then he's got you switching hands. So from memory, 3, 4. Etc. So you can do that, but back in my sort of odd meter Dan Weiss days, I would take the Rudimental Ritual, the Rudy Ritual, and I would put it against like a 5/8 bass drum pattern. So I would continue the Rudimental Ritual aspect in 4, but then I would try to play a 5-note polyrhythm against it. So I'm not going to be able to nail this. I'm almost there. It's been about a decade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Etc. So do that for 2 or 3 rudiments a day. And this is a great way to hear new shapes and break out of your rut. So another thing to consider with this is something we'll talk about later, but the underrated aspect. And again, when we speak about overemphasis on rudiments, I'll hear people whose hands are totally tight, but then their hand is flamming with their foot in the spot where their hand and foot is supposed to be together, which is infuriating to me. Okay, so now reasons that I think rudiments are overrated. So number one, because I don't think they're actually the most atomic kernel for what we play on the drums. And in particular, it's because they're so hand-based. So I want to show you a couple things that are like greatest hits. Some of them are in my course, others of them are in other free lessons, but underrated things that you will have to do on the drums that have nothing to do with rudiments per se. So one is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what are the aspects to this? This is a drop catch with the right hand on the hats. You can do it on the ride. You can do it with the left hand. It's a great ambidexterity exercise. That wasn't clean. So what I'm getting at is that this is a great sort of crucible for an intermediate drummer to see how much attention to detail they really have. This is one of those adults from the children. I tried to use a gender neutral version of men from the boys because we need more women playing drums. And it's kind of unfortunately a boys only club. Although that's changing. There are some absolutely amazing female drummers now. So if you give this exercise to someone and they're not really on point, chances are it'll sound something like this. They're going to be flamming their hand and their foot. And the reason why is that it's difficult to do 2 consecutive bass drum notes along with a drop catch in the hand. It's difficult enough just to play them together. But a drop catch where you're lining up the hand, whichever hand it is, with the kick drum is a difficult and underrated skill on the drum set. So phase 2, and again, this is all from 1 or 2 basic exercises, is this. Okay, so what are we adding there? We're adding 2 extra elements. Number 1 is, can you play your hands simultaneously on 2 different surfaces? You guys dig that classical percussion thing? Like, I've only got 1 note to play, so I want to act like it's really difficult, like timpani. So you're playing your hands simultaneously, but then number 2, you also are playing a clean rim shot. And watch me not get this clean. Hey, we got a clean. So I've seen other videos from some other drummers recently about the importance of playing a clean rim shot. So I want to underscore that and yes, and it. So again, if I'm sitting on an audition committee and someone comes in and they've got all their rudiments together, the first thing I'm going to ask is to see this. Okay, so there are other directions you can go with this, and in my course, I've got a lot of things about. So if you're playing paradiddles, when you switch hand to hand, and being able to make that hook up with a kick drum. And then when you add in a snare drum, to make it ambidextrous. So these are some other things, but they all stem from those 3 or 4 basic, what I would call new rudiments. That's not pretentious at all, right? Can you play your hands and your feet together simultaneously without flamming when you're in a drop catch scenario, when you're switching from hand to hand, and can you play the rim shots? Can you play the rim shots cleanly? Can you differentiate those from head strokes on the head? And can you play the hands together cleanly? So the last wrinkle I would throw into that is, again, another variation of this when people see it in my course, which is, now let's add a layer of complexity. Can you play it with the hi-hat on offbeats? Etc. So these exercises are submitted as my take on this kind of rolling round table that's casually going amongst drum YouTubers right now, / my slight challenge to the thesis that there's no direct way to practice coordination on the drums. There are no quote-unquote coordination exercises. I don't sense there's as much disagreement there as it seems like on the surface, but I just wanted to throw these out there, raise them up the flagpole. So hopefully this was valuable to you guys, whether you are new watchers who just clicked on this. Hopefully I answered the question promised in the title, and or legacy subscribers who've seen a bunch of my other videos. I definitely think it was time for an update on my feelings about rudiments and the rudiment debate. So guys, if you have been checking out the channel for a minute and you're feeling like maybe you'd like to go a little deeper with my instruction, I recommend my flagship product, the 80/20 coaching course, which is like 6 to 9 months of studying with me for around the price of a single lesson. We only open that a few times a year to get a gateway drug to it completely free, and also to get on the wait list for the next time we open up the course for new students. I recommend checking out my 3 free videos, which will improve your playing more in the next 3 weeks than you have in the last 6 months. The first of these videos takes the stuff we were just talking about and extends on it. There's improv stuff, how to sound good instantly in a solo. There's one about jazz. I really recommend you guys check those out. Again, completely free. You'll get more of a sense of what my deeper materials are like. And then if you're interested in enrolling in the course, the next time we open that up, you'll hear about it. Get those down below at the first link underneath the video player, dudes. It's been real once again for the 80/20 drummer. This is Nate. Be back soon with another lesson of the week. Peace.